Hey, everybody, and welcome. We are here with the bi-monthly, roughly, BioCare Roundtable, and it's really good to see all of you. Um, we haven't done this probably in about 3 or so months, and we're back in the saddle, and we're going to have a great time tonight. And we are live. If you're watching this on a Thursday, the 26th of May at around 5 o'clock Eastern, we're live. And so what that means is that you can, if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, etc., Twitter, Twitch, you can type and give us messages, questions that you want to ask the doctors. And we'll do our best to get those questions answered for you. Folks, I'm Kevin Gallagher. I thank you for watching. I am the CEO and founder of the Truth Be Told Radio Network. And we go out 24 hours a day. We broadcast, and what we're doing is we're bringing you the Word of God and Christian content and content with a Christian worldview, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you're tired of CNN, if you're tired of Fox News, if you're tired of MSNBC, if you're tired of all the other places that are going out and giving you all this slanted stuff, come here and hear something that's going to give you a better Christian worldview. And folks, we're looking at medicine. We're looking at the fine doctors at BioCare in Tijuana, Mexico. We have Dr. Rodriguez and two of the other doctors here with us today. And we're going to be looking at COVID and long haul COVID and find out exactly what is that? Why is it important? And before we go any further, as you can see, as we had right in our opening video, you can listen to the radio network a lot of different ways. And so you can do that over an Alexa device. You can do that over a Google device, over a HomePod. And if you have your trusty Android phone or iPhone, guess what? You can do that too, because the Google Assistant that is in this phone is the same thing that is in your Google Smart Speaker. The Siri Assistant that's in your HomePod is the same exact assistant that's in your phone. So, and also Alexa is Alexa. So you just say, hey, use the wake word and tell it to play the radio network, play Truth Be Told Radio Network, and you are listening to the show. Now, if you're doing that on a Friday night at 7 p.m. or Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, you're listening to Dr. Rodriguez's program for BioCare Healthcare Hospital. So what we want to do is make sure that you get a chance to hear from the fine doctors today and be able to tune in the future to hear about the great subjects that they cover. And also, I think you're up to about 151 shows, Dr. Rodriguez, and I want to pull you into the conversation. And if you can, just kind of pull your webcam down just a little bit to tighten the shot up, and let's hear what you have to say.
Okay. Well, let me tell you, first of all, thank you very much. Thank you for everyone that's watching us today. We're live. Remember that we're live. So if you have questions, if you have comments, you for sure can key those in and send them to our way. Truth Be Told Radio Network has been working, as Kevin was saying, to deliver a different type of message. I think that we are in a world of misinformation, or at least with information that is so biased that it's very difficult to trust it. So, as he said, if you're tired of this and you want to talk more to people, to real people, to people that work along with other people day in and day out, Truth Be Told Radio is something that's going to fulfill your lives, your spaces, your need for information, and I couldn't say it louder or better, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
And we are International BioCare Hospital and Wellness Center, and we have been working here since 1985. And
Wow.
actually, as a group, we go beyond that. We started working together since 1976, and we were a group of doctors and researchers that were not happy with the way the world was, and we wanted to have a different point of view. We felt something was missing in medical care, and we thought we knew what it was. We wanted to go back to basics. We want to bring back a lot of the great things that God has provided for us, and we needed to be, I have to say it very simply, obedient, because we come from, we were created in perfection. We were given the foods that we should eat. We were given the everything we needed, and yet what we have done over generations is just to go and have something else that we don't need. Uh, I have a very good friend that always says there was the, the creation of a scientist with a white coat, with a big blackboard, that started writing what he thought is what our bodies needed.
Hmm.
And, an industry was born, and that is the food industry. And all they wanted to do, like unfortunately many things in our time, was to profit from what we spend in food. They don't really care about our well-being. They don't really care about our health. And actually, when you see their ads, they never touch on that. They never say this is going to be very good for you. This is going to improve your immune system. This is going to improve your intestinal flora. This is going to diminish inflammation in your body. No, all they talk about is pleasure and comfort. This is going to taste very good. This is, you're going to love it. This is really a bliss point type of food, and etc. So
Yeah.
we have to think of who we are. And I tell many times people that listen to me, I say, before you take the next bite, I would like you to reflect a little bit of, do you really understand why we eat? Is it just for pleasure? Is it just for fun? Is it just for comfort? Or there is something beyond that? There's something else that we need to take care of. And the second sentence is what it is. Before you take your next bite, you have to think, what is this blessed food? Hopefully, it's going to be a blessed food going to do in my body. What is going to change within my body? What's going to provide my body? And the other question, very important, is this going to be harmful in any way? Is this going to produce any sort of medical condition over the years if I keep on taking it? Because let's face it, many people tell me, Doctor, but it's just a bite. No, it's not just a bite, because you're going to start getting that bite when you're 5. By the time you're 60 or 70, it's not a bite, it's a lot. Let
Hmm.
me tell you something, a figure that illustrates that very clearly. If we only take one soda pop a day, by the end of the year, we have consumed the equivalent of 50 pounds of sugar.
Yeah.
So it's not just a bite, it's not just a spoonful, it is a lot. And 50 pounds of sugar, multiply that by the number of years you live, God,
Right.
you're eating a lot. I'm going to give you another, to me, scary figure. You know, some children in America eat more sugar in 1 year than what is their actual body weight. We have
That is
children,
crazy. That is
yeah,
crazy.
we have children that eat more sugar in pounds than their own weight. Now, do we expect those children to be healthy in the future? No. So it's not just a bite. My first and most important message is, next time you are going to put a bite in your mouth, think of what it is and what you expect that food is going to do for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Because food is a blessing. See, actually, if you open your Bible, as soon as you open the Bible, as soon as you read the creation and you read "Let there be light," and then you see that He created this and that and that, and then very soon in the reading, God is going to tell people, "And I give you these plants, and I give you these animals, and I give you this." to nourish you. So it's not a matter of going to the supermarket or anything like that. These are God-given foods, and they were created in agreement with the body that God created on us. So if you don't put the two things together, something is going to happen, and something is really, unfortunately, happening a lot as we speak.
Yeah.
So that's my first message.
Yeah. So let people know just a little bit about the BioCare Hospital in case they've never heard of you before. They've just come across you here on the network. They're watching this video right now for the first time. Who are you? And just a little synopsis about the type of care that they can get there and what makes you different. And then we'll get into the subject matter. Okay.
Absolutely. And I think that was what I already told you. I think it's
Yeah.
a very important way to tell
Yeah.
you what we think, where we come from.
Yeah.
Okay. And that is going to tell you that we are a medical organization that truly believes that God has created a body in perfection,
Yes.
and that if we follow the rules, if we're obedient, we can be in good shape for many years. But if we break those rules, if we don't obey, then we're going to find trouble. And
Yes.
trouble we find, and unfortunately, very frequently. So we are a hospital that I tell you, like 1976, 78, we started looking at patient care. And you could say, what could be worse than airplane food? Hospital food, you see? Hospital food. And food is a place, I mean, a hospital is a place where people go
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
recover,
Yeah.
supposedly, to regain health. And when I saw what people were feeding, and when I
Yeah.
saw how they were putting toxic things in there, and big amounts of salt, big amounts of chemicals, big amounts of flavoring, coloring, hormones, you name it, antibiotics, all those things I'm telling you, they are in the food supply chain today. And that's what we were feeding our patients. And I thought, there's no way we can help these people. And on the
Yeah.
other hand, they had a very upset, very distorted intestinal flora. They cannot produce the antibodies. They cannot produce the immunity. They cannot produce the hormones. They cannot produce well-being. Nothing with that distorted intestinal flora and intestinal condition. So you were putting one thing after the other, and you said, we need a hospital that understands this
Yes.
and looks at how you feed people, looks about supplementation, looks about oxygen provision, detoxification, uh, rebalancing the intestinal flora, rebalancing the immune system, rebalancing the hormonal system. In other words, help the body to regain control of itself. Because if we
Yes.
don't help the body, drugs are going to do part of the job, but it's going to be not what the body needs. You know, if you go many times to the doctor today, the word cure is off limits and used to be part of medicine. You
Hmm.
go to the doctor, and the doctor says, now you're cured. Now you cannot say that word. You cannot say that word because there's very little that we cure today because
Yeah.
we're facing a number of diseases that are incurable. I'm talking about cancer, heart disease, vascular disease, diabetes, strokes, Alzheimer's. I could go on and on. And all these diseases are self inflicted through lifestyle, through the
Hmm.
use of toxic substances. Now, with all those things, well, we have to do something. It's not just a matter of giving a drug. Even in critical cases, let's say a cancer patient, we see many cancer patients here that come in a wheelchair, even on a stretcher, by ambulance. And in few days, they're smiling and talking, and a few more days, they're moving around and they're doing things. Why? Because we get so many bodies that have been totally neglected
Hmm.
When you go to a normal hospital, all you're given is drugs. You get tests, you get drugs, and that's it. When I started looking at cancer patients, which we see many cancer patients in BioCare very successfully,
Yeah.
allow me to say that, uh, what we saw is people that came in very bad conditions. Because, number one, when somebody tells you you have cancer, you're not going to say, okay, doctor, thank you, let's go to eat. No, you have been changed. You can feel it inside. You can feel this shocking news affecting your whole body. You don't feel like eating. So your appetite is gone. And then with the drugs and everything you're doing, your taste changes a lot. And people don't want to eat.
Hmm.
Cancer has a very evil way to attack us.
Yeah.
And that is people with cancer not only do not feel hungry, but they refuse food. You show a plate and they say, take it away. Just by looking at that food makes me nauseous. And as you progress, things get worse and worse and worse. Well, at BioCare Hospital, we see people like that, and we say, we have to do something. And what we have to do something in the beginning is probably do intravenous feeding.
Yeah.
You don't want to eat. You don't want to chew. You don't want to see. You don't want to smell food. Today, because we're a full hospital, we can place what's called a central catheter and feed you with fats, with protein, with essential fatty acids, with vitamins, with trace minerals, with everything your body needs. And as you get that nourishment, people start to raise up their heads and realize that no, I'm not going to die after all, at least not in the next immediate future. So once they do that, they start feeling better. And once you start feeding the body and using targeted supplementation to fulfill the specific needs, we test for all of these, and to fulfill the specific needs of each and every patient, then people start feeling better and better. And you know what? Cancer starts receding.
Yeah.
People,
And I forget who said it, doctor, but I forget who said it, but they said let food be your medicine and medicine be your food.
yeah,
And and
that's
and
Greek.
it's true
That's
because you are what you eat. And I want to get the other doctors involved in the discussion right now. So Naholi, what are your comments on what Dr. Rodriguez was just talking about? I'd like to get some thoughts from you and then go to Dr. Vesquez.
Well, getting into the long COVID, which is the
Yeah.
subject that we're going to touch in the next hour, probably. Well, for now at IBC, we've been doing a protocol, but since there is no cause or even a name of this syndrome, how does it behaves or the lifestyle, I think BioCare has a good approach or has a lot to offer in
Mhm.
healing people with this kinds of things we do, like diet. Dr. Rodriguez is already mentioning that. And BioCare is very specific and targeted what the patient needs, like supplements. We do or have our patients with uh, minerals like magnesium, zinc, vitamin D. And
Mhm.
like he also mentioned, we test our patients before to see or check what kind of necessities they have on this. Not also through IV, but through the diet. We also support a lot the gut health. So we also
Mhm.
encourage the patient to have a lot of probiotics with us in the diet also. And that's one way of getting them to heal.
Got it. Got it. And Dr. Vesquez, how would you what would you add to that?
Well, a pleasure being here again. I'm working at BioCare Hospital since 1990. And one of the things that like from this hospital from the beginning is the philosophy.
Mhm.
My father died from colon cancer, and it was a very late stage when we had his diagnosis. But after this experience, I like these protocols that we are having here at BioCare Hospital, because it's very important to develop a program, not treating the symptoms, is addressing
Yeah,
the root of the problem,
the
which is very
cause.
important. And it is very important when we have a patient face to face here in the office, is to ask questions, listen about what Dr. Rodriguez was talking about, the diet. We 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 are going to know if the patient is having a good diet or not, and how we can propose to correct those deficits. In my experience here at BioCare Hospital, I'm seeing a lot of patients, different levels of cancer, some in early stages, other very advanced. But the bottom line here is to provide the patient with a good balanced diet. And we understand that most of the patients here sometimes are coming here paying the taxes from chemotherapy, radiation therapy. So
Hmm.
we are going to face a patient here that is very
Yes.
debilitated. And this is why it's important to address the nutritional support intravenously, so we can bypass the digestive system and put directly into the bloodstream all these good nutrients the patient requires to heal. Uh, uh, we're seeing patients that come here with conventional blood work or prescription with drugs. We like to go more than that. We like to do microscopic blood assessment, because we can see very good medical information regarding clumping on your red blood cells or levels of inflammation, that in paperwork a doctor can tell you, oh, you are perfectly right. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything wrong, but the patient is fainting here in my office, feeling very sick. So these kind of tests that goes
Yeah.
beyond the conventional blood work give us a more clear picture about the patient's health. So we are going to tailor a program according to the patient's needs, because we don't have cook recipes here for everybody. Every patient is unique and different.
Yeah. So it's not a cookie cutter approach. It's not one size fits all.
Yes.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. So, when did something like this long haul COVID, as you call it, when did this first get identified? Where people went, this is a little squirrely. This is a problem. They're putting their finger on it. They're identifying it. But when did this first get discovered, or whatever word you want to use, Dr. Ortega?
Well, of course, we started to see this kind of symptoms after the pandemic. This started in April 2020, and it was more. Um, we got more calls and more people trying to reach us, because all these different symptoms they've been experienced after the patient will tell you, I had COVID and I was not in the hospital, but I continue having these headaches, or I still continue with foggy brain. I cannot exercise as I used to. So all these symptoms that are being in common with the patients and the past infection of COVID, and not just COVID, we can see this kind of syndromes in acute viral infections. So it's more common that patients ask for help because, like Dr. Vasquez mentioned, well, they do lab work and everything is fine. So the doctor will take them, or discharge them from the office, and you don't have nothing, or just go to psychiatry. Probably there's something going on with a mental illness, and
Mm-hmm.
I cannot help you. So those kind of patients are the ones that we see in our consults. Those are the ones that seek for help. They
Yes.
want answers. They want to get better. They want to do their daily activities as they used to, and they cannot at this point.
Yeah. And then Dr. Rodriguez, I just want to read, I had this sent over to me, and I just want to read just a couple of paragraphs, not much, but I want to get your reaction to it, because I found it very interesting as I was reading through this earlier today. And it says, we're closing in on 2 years of the COVID-19 pandemic, carrying a toll of over 78 million reported cases, close to 1 million deaths. However, recent and more positive numbers reflect an improvement in overall cases and deaths, leaving room for a gradual return of what we, call being, normality. As the ravages of the epidemic subside, we begin to see a number of important number of people that cannot understand the symptoms and the problems never before experienced with particular occurrence in the neurological and muscular systems. Now, cognitive dysfunction along with headaches lead the list of problems with as many as 81% and 68% of the researched cases from a study that tracked 100 patients in what we'll call long haul COVID. Igor Korolnik, I'm probably butchering his name, MD, professor of neurology at Northwestern University in Chicago, indicates that 85% of cases reported neurological symptoms, even mild recovered cases of COVID. Now, I know in my own experience in family, we had my stepson and his wife, they both nearly died from the COVID. And what happened was they, their sense of taste, it didn't come back for a long time. Everything tasted the same or had no taste. And you saw symptoms like that. And from what I'm seeing and what I'm reading here, it's not that uncommon. And this is exactly what we're talking about. So what would you like to add to that? Because this is absolutely fascinating. And I've seen firsthand some of the problems that this is talking about.
Well, as what you read says, and total agreement, what we're looking at, you're asking when did we discover it?
Yeah.
Well, we doctors are very used to see someone with a problem. The problem gets over, and then we say, okay, go home and have fun. And all of a sudden, the patient comes back and says, you know what, doctor, I have this, I feel that. And sometimes we say, no, as Dr. Arteaga was saying, no, it's in your mind, you need a vacation, that type of thing. Now, you're asking when we discover all these with patients with COVID. Well, it turns out that, as you say, that is not uncommon at all. Actually, over 60% of people that had COVID had some sort of mainly neurological symptoms, mainly problems within the neurological sphere, like one of the most common you mentioned, lack of smell, lack of taste. The other ones is fatigue, tiredness, shortness of breath, mental fogginess. That's probably one of the most common. People say, you know what, doctor? Yeah, I'm moving. I had COVID a month ago, but I don't seem to think clearly. I don't think clearly. I'm fatigued. I'm tired. I cannot go to sleep very easy. I wake up in the middle of the night and cannot reconcile sleep, etc. So most of the symptoms, in 85% of those cases with problems, are in the neurological sphere. Now, we started looking at, okay, so this virus probably affected your neurological system. And yes, it does. This virus, which was very evil, very treacherous, produced a systematic inflammation response from head to toe. There was not a single part of the body where inflammation didn't go up.
Right.
And very soon we discovered that the best way to monitor if the disease was going worse or better was by measuring inflammatory markers. If inflammatory markers were going up, we would brace for problems. But if they were coming down, then we had a sigh of relief. So we very soon learned that inflammation in every part of the body was a very important problem. And the other one, of course, that people are very much related to is shortness of breath. Why? Because we had two problems. One, inflammation in the lungs that produce problem with ventilation. But on the other hand, that inflammatory response kind of block the free flow of blood on the whole system, in the whole body, and also the attachment of oxygen to the blood to be delivered to the body.
Yeah.
So many times, even with the respirator, you were breathing okay, yet your body needed oxygen. And then people gave them more oxygen and more oxygen. And people died
Wow.
by lack of oxygen because the oxygen was not being carried by the uh, red blood cells.
Right.
So
Right.
as we learned all these, we started controlling the problem better and better because we started using anti-inflammatories more than many other drugs. And we started understanding that we would have to take care of people in that way. But this brings me to another situation. This brings me to the situation of preparedness. In other words, who were better prepared to face the challenges of the disease did a lot better. They had less complications, less problems, better recovery. And who are those? Those are the ones that were, like in any epidemic, the people that were stronger. So being stronger, being more resilient, being more prepared from the immunological point of view and nutritional point of view paid a big dividend to people that were under those circumstances.
Yeah.
On the other hand, people who were on deficit, on a health deficit, like diabetes, overweight was critically important to do better or worse. Diabetes, high blood pressure was another very important disease that associated with COVID was really malignant. So all those diseases produce deaths and problems. But people who were better prepared, yes, they might suffer a lot of things, but they went through it and they came out of it. Now, a lot of them, over half of them, stayed with symptoms that then we started thinking, now what? What are we going to be doing? And
Yeah.
then, of course, came the area of inflammation, to fight off inflammation, to fight off a lot of situations that people had, to nourish the body, to support the body with energy and supplies to make sure it could be more resilient. But also, there was a very important discovery. If a lot of the problems are in the neurological area, there must be happening something to the nerves.
Mm-hmm.
And sure, that was one of the problems. So we started treating people with oxidative therapies. Which are those? One plain oxygen, the other one hyperbaric oxygen, which is oxygen at a high pressure, like the one you use for divers when they come out very soon. Well, you put the
When
person
they
on
have the bends.
Could you put
Yeah.
people on a pressure chamber so oxygenation will go way up in the blood because oxygen was one of the things those
Hmm.
nerves needed to heal. And the other one was enough energy supply. So we started putting together energy supply through glucose, through nutrition intravenously. This has to be intravenous. It's not a matter of eating right or eating wrong. It's a matter of you have an acute condition. You need to BioCare. You have to go to a place where you have a professional that understands what you have to do. And sure enough, in only 10 days, 2 weeks, we started reversing this condition through oxidative therapies, glucose, intravenous nutrition, and so on. And magnesium was one of the key minerals that was very important in helping people to come out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Let me tell you,
magnesium, I think most people are deficient in too.
let me tell you something. By the way, this last weekend I went to a wedding and I happened to sit with a man that produces lots and lots of garlic, and then lots and lots of chiles. That's his
Mm-hmm.
livelihood. But he's a big producer, And he was telling me that plants started to not do well. And he checked the soil, he checked the water, he checked everything. He said, I couldn't figure out what was wrong. And what was wrong turned out to be lack of magnesium in the soil. And I told him, right, absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
How can you expect a soil without magnesium to have a good food? And then you eat that food, what can you expect? You're going to be low in magnesium. Magnesium, by the way, is the biggest mineral deficiency in America. Why? Because we have depleted our soils. So even if you think you're eating right, think again. Where is your food coming from? How it's being produced? How honestly has been produced? Because if your food doesn't contain what your body needs, you can eat a ton of spinach or broccoli, you're going to be magnesium deficient. So you see, so unfortunately, in this time and age, supplementation to help well-being is important, but it's
Mm-hmm.
important to be prepared. You can do testing. You can go to places and say, I want to be tested. I want to make sure I'm in good shape. So not only we developed a program to deal with post-COVID long haul syndrome,
Yeah.
but also to prepare you to be more resilient if need be. And then we created what we call the BioCare Health Getaway. If you're having a vacation time, come to BioCare. Be tested. Check that everything is in good shape. Get your treatment, get your intravenous supplementation. Target the supplements that you need. It's not just taking supplements. Supplements
Mm-hmm.
are million of them and not necessarily are what your body needs. So go to a place where they understand all these things, and then you can implement a program that's going to help your body to face whatever the future might throw at us.
Yes. And Dr. Vasquez, I wanted to read something to you very quickly because what I found in here is interesting. And Dr. Rodriguez was just referring to all the different symptoms and things. And I found this fascinating because as you were talking about, Dr. Rodriguez, what's well known is the loss of smell and taste. But there's the brain fog, blurred vision, dizziness, tinnitus, ringing in the ears, depression, insomnia, and other neurological problems that are frequently reported in as many as 1/3 of the studied cases. So, Dr. Vasquez, how common is a disease, somebody gets to have that many different ways of manifesting with symptoms? Is this common or is this unusual?
It is very, excuse me, it is very common. Actually, most of the people infected with the virus will experience mild to moderate symptoms and and will recover without any major treatment.
Yeah.
However, this is the point. Patients with underlying condition like diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, cancer, definitely are more susceptible to get a full-blown impact of this condition. Here, the point is we're dealing with a progressive and systemic inflammatory process,
Mm-hmm.
and this affects many organs. So I will call this like a syndrome because the word syndrome means the involvement of different organs at different levels. And here we're talking about initially we thought that COVID could be just a pulmonary condition, and it is not. It's actually affecting your cardiovascular system,
Yeah.
your kidney function, etc. As Dr. Rodriguez was talking about, is about some deficiencies in our body that can make us more susceptible to get a very bad case of COVID. And according to our experience here, the vitamin D level in most of the COVID patients actually is very low. Uh, we always talk to our patients to take enough vitamin D because that can help us, is documented to help us prevent uh, the progression of the disease. We know that we're going to get it, but we want to get kind of more gentle form of the disease. So supplementing your body here, especially if you know that you have underlying conditions, do a preventive program that will reduce the odds of dying from the disease.
Yes, yes. And Dr. Ortega, what would you like to add to that? Because I just found some of these symptoms to be, really incredible. I mean, the brain fog alone, that is a real buzzkill. I mean, that's something that can really affect your quality of life. And, what can people do in addition to what's already been talked about to really improve their health if they think that they have these types of problems? And also, I mean, for myself, my wife and I, we take a whole regimen of different things, and a lot of that have already been talked about here today, that are really good to prevent you from ever getting the COVID to begin with, or to make it a lot less severe if you do get it.
Well, of course, multidisciplinary centers, or here at BioCare, we can help them with this kind of symptoms as a post-viral disease. But of course, at home, they can supplement themselves, try to do a lifestyle change before they get the disease, like start walking, moving, get elasticity. They can do weightlifting. This is for the body to get, or to improve the immune system, to have a better shield so we can attack better the disease.
Yes.
Like Dr. Rodriguez mentioned before, diet is very important. But if this diet, even though it's healthy or nutritional for us, but is not good since it was planted, then we need to consume also supplements as a complement of the diet. Always, meditation can help also to decrease cortisol levels, which is the stress hormone. Stress can increase,
Yes.
how we can react or respond to COVID or other viral diseases.
Now, I'm going to stay with you. I got a question that came in from somebody who's watching. I think it's a great question because it's something that confuses me as well, because it doesn't seem to make any sense to me. And I'm going to also have this question go to Dr. Vasquez and Dr. Rodriguez, and that is, why does COVID seem to still be spreading in the hot weather? It's been my understanding that viruses don't do well in hot weather and ultraviolet light, etc. It just, they can't coexist. So why do we see COVID seemingly being able to spread when it's hot out and humid? Because we were commenting before we went on the air, Naholi, that we had like almost 90-degree days here in Connecticut last week, and yet I'm hearing about people getting COVID, which doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay, let me answer that one.
Sure.
This is remember that we're talking about a viral disease.
Yes.
So with that in mind, let's think about common flu.
Okay.
Common flu. Why am I going to use common flu as my analogy? Because it's also a viral disease, affects the respiratory system. It goes from person to person in very much the same fashion as COVID, through the air, through touching your eyes, etc.
Yeah.
And so there are a lot of similarities. So it's easy to explain. When you're in the middle of the winter is so bad that when you cough and when you move, etc., the virus is going to be killed by the environment. It's very cold. It's not going to survive. So let's say I cough from here to there. A lot of viruses are going to be dead because of the exposure to the extreme cold. Or if they drop in any surface that's very cold, they're going to die too. Where can you get flu from one person to another? Indoors. Because indoors, the virus is going to be a lot more protected in order to go from one person to the other. Now, what happens in the summertime? In the summertime happens about the same thing for the opposite reason.
Yeah.
The air is so hot, the surfaces are so hot, that when the virus touches those things, will probably be killed. So transmission is not easy. Where do we really see big epidemics of flu in our world? And all of us have lived enough as to see when we get sick. We get the problem between winter and summer, that's the spring, and between summer and winter, that's autumn. Those are the most important months for frequency of the common flu. We get
Yeah.
it when we change seasons because it's not too cold, it's not too warm. The virus can survive a lot better on the air, can survive a lot better over any surface, so we can change it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Now, that's from the viral point of view. Now, let me explain it from the body point of view. The body
Okay.
also has a lot of defense systems, which are much better prepared. We're much better prepared in the warm months because our body uses a lot less energy, keeping warm,
Hmm.
fighting disease, anything. So in the summer months, we're normally healthier. As the winter approaches, then is when, if we have any weakness, it's going to show because we are going to be under a higher demand of everything. So our body
Right.
can become relatively weaker. It's not that it's weak necessarily. It is that in relationship to where it was, it's going to use a lot of the energy it was using to just live well, just to help to control the temperature of the body. So
Hmm.
once again, where you have the better situation in the springtime and in the autumn, that's where for a viral transmission is a lot easier. As the summer goes on, I'm sure that in Connecticut we're going to see a reduction in the prevalence of COVID. Right now, we're just coming out of better times, so we're still looking at the consequence of the last few weeks where we probably had a better weather. So we should see that the epidemic is going to slow down. Now, remember, our problem is when we are indoors. Why? Because the there's temperature control. Everything is very cozy. Everything is very. If it's very hot outside, we are cooler inside. We have air conditioning, etc., etc. So beware when you're indoors. Beware of gatherings that are indoors, particularly with a lot of people, like even church. I hate to say it, but even church, but family reunions and those things. But let me give you a very simple, very simple example. When you look at television programs, when you went to biology class, when you were in school, every time you were about to deal with any infectious substance, what did we do? We lit a flame because the flame is going to sterilize the environment around it. So when you look at the movie of a laboratory, you see these flames that people uh, get on in order to sterilize the environment. You can do that at home. If you have guests to dinner that you're not, even if you're sure that they don't have any problem, I'm going to give you a very good advice. Put two, three candles on the table. And people are going to think that you are so caring, so beautiful, so everything, but you're controlling an infection
Hmm.
because the warmth of the candle will produce hot air that's going to race through a very hot area that comes from the flames in the candle. So all the air that's flowing there is going to be sterilized. And when it comes down, it's free of viruses.
Hmm.
So you don't have to use any fancy equipment, any filter system, anything like that. If you have people at home, light candles. They look fantastic, they smell beautiful, and you are protecting yourself. So
It's very interesting. Yeah.
just do that. It's simple.
I would never think of lighting candles as a way of protecting me from viruses. That's very interesting.
Well, they do. And again, if you ask your children, what do you do when you go to biology class or any of these classes where you have to deal with infectious substances, they're going to tell you that you use, it's called a Bunsen burner, where you just light it up, and then
Mhm.
you have a flame that's a couple of inches long, and that flame keeps everything around you sterile. Simple, very old. I'm talking about Louis Pasteur in the what 18th
Yeah,
century.
yeah. So, Dr. Vasquez, let me just jump over to you very quickly, and that is, let's just say somebody found out that they just, came down with COVID. What's the best thing? What are the best first steps that they can take?
Well, first, if we know that we are infected, we need to get isolated. That's very important. This is in the way to protect other people around us. Secondly, uh, first of all, let me tell you that coronavirus is a virus that exists from so many years. But this one, the Delta variety, and the latest one, the Omicron, still very contagious. One can be more aggressive than the other one. But the rule here is to protect others and protect you. You can have to use a mask, okay? You have to supplement your body, get enough hydration, good quality of food, and just put your health in the care of the professional, because we need to follow the parameters of inflammation. And this I'm talking about blood work. And if something is going into the wrong direction, well, we have to start immediately on treatments, which one of the main therapies is the anti-inflammatory therapy that help us prevent the damage that will produce in our lungs, which is actually fibrosis. Most of the patients that we know that die from severe cases of COVID is because what Dr. Rodriguez says, they cannot get enough oxygen anymore because
Yeah, yeah.
there is no healthy cells there anymore. So uh, we have to establish first where we are and then start on a protocol of treatment.
Yes, yes. Got another question that came in, and let me go back to Dr. Rodriguez, or let's see what we got here. Should people still be wearing masks? Does it really protect people? Do they need to wear that in the summertime, or should they be more concentrating on wearing those, say, in the winter?
Well, probably the best defense is not to get too many people close. That's probably the best thing you can do. And one thing that will show you that it's very close to the reality is that the huge mortality, the huge problem of COVID happened in the big cities, where you
Hmm.
have a huge concentration of people leaning literally one on each other. So, like for example, if you saw New York or Paris or London, that was a big problem. But if you go to small towns, there was half of the problem, or less than half of the problem. Why? Because people live further from each other. You go to the market and you find 20 people. You go to the market in Los Angeles and you find 500 people. So the possibilities of being contracting any problem go lower the less people that are around. So that's one. The other one
Yeah.
that's very important, that has become very important, is ventilation. So outdoors
Hmm.
is a lot better than indoors. I was telling you a few minutes ago about the candles. Well, this time
Yes.
of the year, you have a family reunion, do a barbecue, do it outdoors. So people are circulating, moving around, and the breeze is going to dilute the amount of viruses that you can get. Now, when you have no option, when you're in one tube like on an airplane and that type of thing, well, yes, then you might have to use a mask. And airplanes, by the way, are very safe. are very safe because they change the way they use the air, they change the way they filter the air,
Yeah.
they upped their game a lot. So actually, I could tell you that right now, one of the places where I feel safe is inside of an aircraft. But nevertheless, when you're around the airport, you have a lot of people that you know where they're coming from. So I personally, if I'm in a place like that, yes, I wear a mask.
Yeah.
And might not be the full answer, but I'm running around and people coming from God knows where with God knows what health conditions, and there's no way I can control that. Once
Yes.
inside the aircraft, I feel a lot better.
Okay. And let's go back to Dr. Ortega. I wanted to ask a quick question, and I'd like to have the other doctors jump on this question after you're done. And that is, we've heard about the original virus, the Delta variant, the Omicron variant. Are there different treatments for those? Do they behave differently? Do you have to treat them because they maybe have different ways of affecting the body? Or is it like one treatment does everything for each thing? Or does it vary from person to person?
Well, it's hard to tell. They do respond different in the body. We've seen with the Delta variant, patients got sicker or got inflammatory um, inflammation of their body, a severe one, instead of Omicron that was just like a mild flu.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the Omicron or the patients that got Omicron were not in the hospital or did not needed to be taken care in a hospital
Yeah.
level. Obviously, that depends if we have underlying diseases like diabetes, hypertension, obesity that can lead to a chronic or to a severe inflammation. Um, so it will be different person to person depending what are your symptoms and how progressive are these symptoms throughout the days of the virus infection.
Okay. And Dr. Vasquez, same question. Do you see any differences in treating people that have different variants?
No, it's actually the same therapy, the same care, which is very important to establish a safe conduct between us and from the people around us. This is very important. The treatment uh, is about the same.
It is. Okay.
What Dr. Arteaga says is the Delta variant is by far the most aggressive one, while the Omicron is kind of more less severe. And but anyway, since this is a contagious disease, we follow the care of prevention.
So I have another question that came in, and since I have you up on screen, I'll ask you, and then I'll get to the other doctors. And that is, it seems like people are getting COVID more than once. Now, even though some have even gotten a vaccine, they're still seeming to get sick again. Why is this?
Well, the vaccine is not gonna. Is actually the vaccine is designed to help you have a less aggressive disease. Is not because you have the vaccine means that you're going to be free from the disease. It gives you a high protection range to from the infection, but the idea of the vaccine is to get less aggressive form of the disease.
Yes.
Still, we're learning more and more every day about the COVID infection. More symptoms are kind of are updated day by day. For example, the dizziness, the mental,
Yeah.
the cognitive affection, things that initially we thought it was just affecting your pulmonary condition, but no, it's something that we are learning more and more day by day, and I feel
No,
this
but
will
it's
continue
really.
for so many days and weeks.
Yeah. And Dr. Rodriguez, the same question. It seems like people are getting COVID more than once, even though some have gotten a vaccine. Why is this?
Well, again, you're talking about a disease that should produce an immune response. Your
Hmm.
body should fight against the infection by producing antibodies. Now, if for any reason your antibody production is not up to certain level, your immunity is not 100% and you might get the disease again. If that's the case, come to BioCare. It's a time where you have to redo a lot of things, rethink a lot of things, and say, I want a very strong immune system. So, and this telling me that I don't have exactly the level of immunity I should get. I'm not responding well. You see, there is something called anergia, which is the lack of good immune response to something. You get the disease, yet you do not produce the useful antibodies that you need or that you'd like to have. So if that's the case, go back to the drawing board and check what you're doing wrong. Number one, check what is your vitamin D, D as in David, level. You have to make sure where that is. It's been proven that a deficient vitamin D is, is going to be the culprit of a much more inflammatory disease. So, and less immune response. So you might have your answer there. You get vaccine or you don't get vaccine, whatever. Check your vitamin D. Next time you go to the doctor, say, doctor, I want to see what my vitamin D is. It goes from 0 to 100. You want to be above 40, 40,
Yes.
50. Okay. And if you're in those numbers, okay, you're okay. But I see many people, for example, that come here, we do the test, and they are in 30 or 20 or teens. And I say, oh, for goodness sake, we have to raise this immediately. Not only because of that, but vitamin D can bring a lot of problems with your health, particularly as we grow older. And now, when I was talking
Yes.
about getting older, let me tell you something. Many people tell me, but doctor, I get a lot of sunlight. Yes, but you're 70, 75 years old. And as we grow older, our capacity to produce vitamin D will go down. So if you needed 20 minutes to get vitamin D when you were a teenager, now you might need 2 hours. So the best way to do it probably is have it measured and supplement. And
Hmm.
that might be the clue for the to solving the problem.
You've kind of covered this. I had another question come in while you were talking, and it says, can and should people take other preventative things besides supplements in order to stay well from COVID?
Yes, we're talking about immune system, and when we're talking about immune system, we have to talk about omega threes. What are omega threes? They are essential fatty acids that are going to help immunity a lot. That's what we preparing people know. That's when you have like fish.
Hmm.
Fish is very rich in this. Raw nuts, raw nuts are fantastic. But there goes another problem of modern times. When I say nuts, people go to the grocery store and buy a can of salted, uh, roasted nuts. Where are the omega 3s in there? Nowhere. It's been destroyed. So what you need to do is you need a basket of nuts and a nut cracker. I always say,
Hmm.
people, you want to have nuts, you need a nut cracker. If you're using a can opener, you're wasting your time, you're getting sick because of the bad fat and the lots of salt, and you're not getting any benefit whatsoever. Just empty calories, toxic substances, and so on. So you need a basket of simple peanuts. Get your peanuts, you shell them, you eat them, you sit by the porch, you talk to your neighbors, you talk to your friends. That is what God wanted us to do, you see. And I could give you examples like that over and over. We're talking about inflammation. What can I take that's an excellent anti-inflammatory? That's pectin. And you say, okay, doctor, should I go to the pharmacy and buy pectin? No. I want you to take an orange, peel the orange, take the wedges, and eat it, just as your mother used to give it to you. She didn't give you a jar of juice, okay, quote unquote, of orange juice filled with color, filled with flavor, filled with sugar. No, You need to have an orange, you peel it, you eat it. What's in the wedge? Not in the yellow part. What's in the white part of the wedge? Pectin. Pectin is one of the most powerful anti-inflammatories that you can take. The
Hmm.
other one, an apple. I tell people, you know what? When you say an apple a day keeps the doctor away, it's absolutely true. It's so true that I can tell you that 3 apples a day will provide your body with all the fiber it needs for 24 hours. So if one apple keeps the doctor away, imagine what 3 apples could do. But once again, you need the fresh fruit. I have to take this opportunity to tell everyone that's listening to us tonight, go to a farmer's market. See what's local. See what foods are in season. That's going to be a good beginning. But you need a lot more than just supplements. But a lot more means smarter eating. You have to have better choices. You see, I hate the word diet because it implies two things that are not true. One, a sacrifice. Good eating should be pleasurable, not a sacrifice. Second, it implies a time frame. People say, doctor, how long am I going to be on a diet for? No, I don't want you to be on a diet. I want you to change your ways. I want you to eat well. I want to be a smart food chooser because I want you to be healthy for the rest of your life. If I if I'm ever going to meet you, I want you to meet you in Niagara Falls or in Yosemite National Park. I don't want to meet you at a hospital. I love you to follow me. I love you to follow Truth Be Told Radio Network. I'd love you to follow all this information and say, I'm going to do something about it because I want to be a follower of Dr. Rodriguez, not his patient. I love followers. I love people that say, Doctor, I loved what you said. Today, I had a very nice encounter with a patient of, it's actually the husband of one of her patients that told me, Doctor, I'm following your programs. I like what you say. My wife listens to them. That's what we have to do. We have to create a community that tunes in Truth Be Told Radio Network. I mean, you, Kevin, can tell them 100 ways to listen to this programming and say, I'm going to start changing. I'm going to start being good to myself. I'm going to start feeding myself right. I'm going to start changing my lifestyle because I want to be healthy and resilient. And I don't want to have this infection today and in 3 months and fourth time. And then you wonder why. No, I have to have a strong body. It's a matter of being prepared. So follow us. We're in every social media platform you can think of. You can ask direct questions. You can contact me anytime you want. You can ask any any point of view, any question, any comment. I'll be happy to answer you. No strings attached. Because again, I'm looking for followers, not for patients.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I know I've reached out and asked you questions in the past, and you've been right there to answer my questions. It's been fantastic. What I'd like to do is find out, is there anything, doctors, that we haven't touched on that you would like to get out onto the air for people to hear before we go off the air? Is there anything at all that you would like to cover on this subject that maybe we haven't touched on?
Yes, I want to tell our audience to, if you know somebody, a relative, if you have complication from post-COVID infection, just grab the phone. There's a toll-free number to call us, 1-800-701-7345. I'll be glad to take your calls and instruct you about a protocol of treatment that can help you repair, give your immune system a better performance, and be safe.
And Dr. Ortega, is there anything that you would like to add?
Well, not just from long COVID patients. We also treat cancer patients, Lyme disease patients or any other viruses or post-virus syndromes that we've been, discussing through along the chat. And we'll call the toll number, which is 1-800-701-7345. You can also follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and I'm glad to talk to you and take you by the hand to see what we can do together to get better.
Fantastic. And folks, the BioCare Hospital has a show on the Truth Be Told Radio Network that airs weekly. That's every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific. And then that show is replayed. If you miss it, you can hear it Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern to be 6:30 in the morning Pacific time. So you can check that out. They've done over 150 shows. I think 151 so far shows that they've done on a wide variety of subjects. So you can go in. We post the podcasts of the shows. We put them out to Amazon. We put them out to Google. There's Anchor.fm. There's a number of different places where you can go to get these shows and download them to your podcast program. That way you can take the network with you. You can take Dr. Rodriguez and his doctors with you and be able to learn about a lot of the things that they talk about, which is fantastic. So, Dr. Rodriguez, let me turn this over to you. Let's wrap this up and let people know more about your hospital, about you, and tell people a little bit about your show more than what I've just said. And Dr. Rodriguez, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, you have heard it. That's who we are. We are BioCare Hospital and Wellness Center, and the word says it. We BioCare. We BioCare our patients. We BioCare our people. We BioCare our friends. What that means is caring in a biological way, in the way that God wanted us or meant to do it, by nourishment, by care, by rejecting toxic substances, by rejecting the wrong lifestyles, by learning to know that we have to go to bed because our body needs sleep, because our body needs rest, but it also needs physical activity. It also needs a lot of respiratory activities, or aerobic as they call it today. We need all these good things. God created us and gave us this body with a responsibility. And my responsibility is to take care of my body. Every time I am good to myself, I'm thanking God for what He had provided. And I have to learn the ways. And I told you before, and I tell you again, you can open the Bible. It's in there. What I told you is Genesis, but you can go to Leviticus. Leviticus is probably the first health lifestyle manual ever written, and very wise. So you don't have to go even out. You don't have to go to the library. You have a Bible at home. Just read it and think again. I was telling you, think of the responsibility of biocaring your body, your life, for the sake of everybody around you. Because the best way to thank God for what you have is to be good to others. And that means your family, your co-workers, your church members, your neighbors, etc. I mean, if we all start thinking that way, we're going to see a lot less and less and less disease. That's the way we should be. We should be enjoying life, enjoying each other's company, and just be happy. That's what we should do. Be happy and thrive. We will not do it if we do not obey, if we do not respect the rules that we have to follow. So I want you again. I want you to follow me. I want you to read, to listen, to go to our blogs, to visit our websites, etc. So, and any question, any doubt, everything, I'm not claiming to have the whole truth. Ask me. I love when people talk to me.
Absolutely. And doctors, thank you so much for joining us here this time. And thank you for all the great information. And Dr. Rodriguez, if you could please just plug one more time your website and other ways that people can get in touch with you directly if they have information that they want to ask you, questions they want to ask you after watching this broadcast.
I think the easiest way is if you call us. You have a toll-free number that you can dial from the United States or Canada, and that's 800-701-7345. Or you can go to our website, biocarehospital.com. You can email me directly. You can send a question to doctor, D-O-C-T-O-R, the full word, doctor at biocarehospital.com. I'll get back to you within 24 hours. Or you can go to the social media of your choice. You can go to Facebook, to Instagram, to Twitter, to you name it. We have a long list of broadcasts also on YouTube. We have testimonials of patients that have been to the hospital on YouTube. And of course, we have the generosity of Truth Be Told Radio Network that you can listen every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Repeat the program of the same week every Saturday morning, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you can go to Spotify and search for Truth Be Told Radio Network.
And I
I'm
forgot
Dr. Rodriguez,
Spotify.
and I want to be your friend.
Yeah, I forgot Spotify. You can download podcasts from Spotify as well. And Dr. Rodriguez, Dr. Ortega, Dr. Vasquez, thank you so much for joining me here on the program today. And folks, you can listen to the Truth Be Told Radio Network through your smart speakers, through your Android or your iPhone. And you can also go a number of different ways. You can email me at contact@truthbetoldnetwork.org. contact@truthbetoldnetwork.org. I can send you an updated, the latest and greatest show schedule so you know exactly what's airing when, and also send you something that tells you all the different ways that you can listen. There's about 20 different ways right now worldwide that you can tune into our broadcast. And so, doctors, thank you very much for joining us. I'm Kevin Gallagher. I thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You're welcome very much. And I'm Kevin Gallagher. Thank you for watching today. Have a great day. Good night, and God bless you.
Thank you. You too.
You too.